Let's start with a truth most traders don't want to hear. You will lose money. Not once, not occasionally, but consistently as part of the process. And yet, there are traders who still say they've learned how to never lose money. So what do they mean? They don't mean avoiding losses. They mean something far more powerful. They mean never losing control. Because the real loss doesn't happen in your account. It happens in your mind. Most people enter trading with the same hidden belief. If I can just predict the market correctly, I'll finally feel confident. But that belief is the trap. Because the moment your confidence depends on being right, you've already lost. The market doesn't reward certainty. It rewards discipline. And discipline only exists when you stop needing the outcome to go your way. Here's the shift that changes everything. Professional traders don't focus on what will happen next. They focus on how they will respond when it does. That's the real edge. Not prediction, not intelligence, not even strategy, but behavior. Think about this. You take a trade. You risk 1% of your account. The market goes against you. You get stopped out. What did you actually lose? 1%. That's it. Nothing catastrophic happened. But what most traders lose in that moment is far greater. They lose emotional control. They start questioning themselves. They feel the urge to make it back. They abandon their plan. And that's where the real damage begins. The loss was never the problem. The reaction was. This is where most people misunderstand what losing actually means. They think losing is financial, but losing is psychological. It's the moment you trade from fear instead of clarity. It's the moment you override your rules to avoid discomfort. It's the moment your identity becomes tied to the outcome. That's the real loss. And until you understand that, the market will keep teaching you the same lesson over and over again. Here's the truth. The market is not against you. It's not trying to punish you. It doesn't even know you exist. It simply reflects probability. Every move is the result of countless participants making decisions based on their own beliefs and emotions. It's neutral, which means every outcome is neutral until you give it meaning. When a trade goes against you, your mind instantly interprets it. I was wrong. I messed up. I'm losing. But that interpretation is optional. Because in reality, every trade is just information. Nothing more. If you followed your rules and lost, that's not failure. That's execution. If you broke your rules and won, that's not success. That's luck. And if you can't tell the difference between the two, you'll never become consistent. This is why professional traders think differently. They don't judge trades individually. They judge themselves based on process. Because they understand something most people never fully accept. No single trade matters. Trading is a game of probabilities. That means every trade is just one event in a series of many. Even with a strong edge, you'll have losing trades, losing streaks, losing days. That's not a flaw. That's the structure of the game. Think of a casino. The casino doesn't care about one hand of blackjack or one spin of the roulette wheel because it knows over time the odds are in its favor. That's how you must think. Each trade is just one roll of the dice. What matters is how you execute over hundreds of trades. But most traders don't think this way. They treat every trade like it defines them, like it proves whether they're good or not. And that emotional pressure destroys consistency. Because the moment you need a trade to win, you've already lost your objectivity. You start hoping instead of observing, forcing instead of following, reacting instead of executing. This is why emotional detachment is everything. Not because you stop caring, but because you stop needing. Detachment means you care deeply about your process, but not about any single outcome. It means you can take a loss without frustration, a win without overconfidence, and move to the next trade with the same calm mindset. That's freedom. That's control. That's consistency. Let's make this practical. There are only two things you can control in trading: your preparation and your response. That's it. You can't control the market. You can't control outcomes. You can't control whether a trade wins or loses. But you can control how you show up. You can control whether you follow your plan, whether you respect your risk, whether you act with discipline. And if you do those things consistently, the results take care of themselves. But if your emotions control your actions, nothing else matters. This is why mastering the inner game is everything. Because every weakness you have internally, the market will expose. If you're impatient, you'll overtrade. If you're fearful, you'll hesitate. If you need to be right, you'll avoid taking losses. If you seek validation, you'll chase wins. The market is a mirror. It reflects you. And most people spend years trying to fix their strategy, when the real problem is their mindset. Here's a powerful question to ask yourself after every trade. Did I follow my process? Not. Did I win? Because if you define success by outcome, your confidence will always be unstable. But if you define success by execution, you create consistency. And consistency is what produces results. Another key shift is this. Stop trying to be right. Start trying to be consistent. Because being right feels good, but it doesn't make you money long term. Consistency does. You could be right and still lose money. You can be wrong and still make money. What matters is how you manage risk and execute your edge. This is where probability replaces emotion. When you truly accept probability, you stop being surprised by outcomes. You stop saying, I can't believe that happened, because you understand anything can happen at any time. And when you accept that fully, you stop fighting reality. You stop expecting the market to behave a certain way. You stop needing certainty. You stop reacting emotionally. And something powerful happens. You become calm. Calm enough to see clearly. Calm enough to execute without hesitation. Calm enough to trust your process. This is the state where real performance begins. Most people think success in trading comes from better entries, better indicators, better strategies. But the truth is, most traders already have enough information. What they lack is emotional control. Because knowledge doesn't create results. Behavior does. You can know exactly what to do and still fail to do it. That's the gap. And closing that gap is what separates professionals from amateurs. Professionals don't eliminate emotion. They learn to not act on it. They feel fear, but they follow their plan anyway. They feel doubt, but they execute anyway, because they understand something simple. Emotions are signals, not commands. Fear shows where you're attached. Frustration shows where you're resisting. Greed shows where you're seeking validation. When you start observing your emotions instead of obeying them, you gain control. And control is what allows probability to work in your favor. At this point, you begin to realize something. Trading is not a battle against the market. It's a process of mastering yourself, your thoughts, your reactions, your impulses, your discipline. Because once you master those, the market becomes easier. Not because it changed, but because you did. And that brings us back to the original idea. What does it really mean to never lose money? It means this. You never lose control. You never lose discipline. You never lose trust in your process. Because as long as you have those, you can recover from any financial loss. But if you lose those, even a small loss can spiral into something much worse. So the next time you take a losing trade, pause and ask yourself, what did I actually lose? If the answer is just money, you're fine. That's part of the game. But if you lost emotional control, that's where the real work begins. Because the goal is not to avoid losses. The goal is to become the kind of trader who can handle them calmly, rationally, consistently. Because in the end, the traders who succeed are not the ones who never lose. They're the ones who never let losing control them. And when you reach that point, you realize something powerful. You were never trying to master the market. You were learning to master yourself. And once you do that, you never truly lose.